Hey everybody, it's John Kraska, EveryLibrary. EveryLibrary Institute is Library Lovers Week 2026. It is not the first time we've ever done Library Lovers Week. If you were following along at home on EveryLibrary's Facebook and YouTube, you will find Library Lovers Week 2025 was a blast, and Library Lovers Week 2026 is no less fun. The whole point of this conversation, while EveryLibrary is the National Political Action Committee for Libraries, we work on library crises a lot around the country. We work against censorship and discrimination. We work for good things like budgets and helping to build new buildings. The cultural conversation in America, like why do libraries exist? What's the whole point? Why is it so important for us to be talking to authors who are connecting with their readers today? And also the idea that the earlier you start reading, the better off you are in life. That's the whole point behind Library Lovers Week 2026. And I'm thrilled today to be able to bring in two wonderful authors, James Ponti and Stuart Gibbs, for this conversation. Guys, I'm going to do the official bios, okay? And then I want to lean in with you about City Spies, James, and Ape Escape, Stuart. But let me start with the official bios. So James Ponti is a New York Times bestselling middle grade author and Edgar Award winner, best known for the City Spies, Framed, and the Sherlock Society series. A former television writer and producer, his fast-paced stories blend humor, mystery, and high-stakes adventure. His books have appeared in pretty darn nearly every state library reading list, and he's the founder of the Renegades of Middle Grade Writers Group. James, thank you for being here today. It's nice to be able to meet you.
It is a thrill to be here, and I am such a fan of libraries, so it is just great to be part of anything that is celebrating libraries and what they offer us.
Well, put it in the back of your head, because I'm going to be asking you towards the end about your favorite library or librarian, your favorite noun, story, okay? So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Let me introduce Stuart Gibbs, folks, New York Times bestselling author of Spy School, FunJungle, Charlie Thorne, and Moonbase Alpha series. Before becoming a full-time novelist, Stuart worked as a screenwriter, newspaper columnist, and animation writer. Known for combining action, comedy, and real-world science and history, he lives in LA and continues to write books that hook even the most reluctant readers. Stuart, so nice of you to be here today.
Thank you for having me. Happy Library Lovers Week, everybody.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I should actually bring that up. So, yeah, Stuart, let me start with you, if I could, about
John.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't know if you know this, and it's Stu's so modest about so many things. Stu's books, because we both have the same publisher, they extend so far, and they are so impressive that they are referred to as the Stuniverse. And I am a happy resident and fan and proponent of the Stuniverse, and traveling through it is just amazing. And I'm just glad to be here so I can get some wisdom from one of my favorite writers. But please continue and talk to Stu now.
For our watchers and listeners at home, I asked these fellas in the green room before we started today if they already knew each other or if they just met cute for the first time. And strangely enough, they've never met before. This is just
we met through the publishing business and became fast friends right from the very beginning.
Actually, we met because of the Texas Library Association.
Yes.
So librarians we met cute at the library, in effect. So yeah.
Yes. Well, that's pretty awesome. Okay, so I'm going to flip the script. Let's just go right into the conversation about libraries and librarians, because I want to come back around to your series. I want to come back around to City Spies, Europa, James. I want to come back around in a minute, Stuart, to Ape Escape and the whole series. Okay. But let's talk about libraries for a minute, because it is Library Lovers Week. So, James, you go first, man. Library or librarian? Like, where in your life, maybe as a middle grade reader, maybe later in life, where does it land for you?
Well, where I lived in a small town on the beach, and we had a very small library, public library. But I would go in there. I was not an active reader. Stu was a great reader. I was a reluctant reader. But for me, the library was just this resource. The great thing about a library to me is the fact that it's the one place you go where there's no expectation. Like, you go in there and you can sit, you can relax, you can go at your own speed, you can do whatever. And so it's really the safest kind of place to be. Librarian, actually, though, the librarian that made the biggest impact on my life is a woman named Dr. Rose Brock. Dr. Brock is a librarian out of Texas. She is, although Stu and I met before that, she is instrumental in the North Texas Teen Book Festival, which is the biggest, which is run through also the Irving Public Library in Irving, Texas.
Oh, sure, yeah.
and Rose is the best. And we are a group of writers. There's a group of writers who are my very best friends, and we call ourselves the Rosebuds because Rose is the thing that united us all. And I'm just glad you asked me first, so I got to say Rose before Stu said Rose. So you have to come up with
I got to come up with a different. I have to come up with a different librarian. I mean, Rose also has trained so many incredible librarians. And,
unbelievable.
Yeah. Wait, I have to answer. Well, I'm one of those kids who I think grew up at the library. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. When I first moved in, we actually didn't have a library that close. They would have a bookmobile that would come out, but yeah, I was there every week, and I was one of those kids who would sort of like I read every book they had in the library. For most influential librarian beyond Rosebrock, I'm gonna jump up for 5 seconds because I realize I have something. That I had a Mrs. Hunt, who was actually it's public, but my elementary school librarian when I was a kindergartner recognized how many books I was reading and knew I was writing and encouraged me to write my own book and put it in the school library. So there is the library card. And so as a kid, the idea that I could get other kids to already check out my books from the library and read them, and then they would come talk to me about how much they liked my story, and that was unbelievably influential to me.
So both of you, I mean, your reading biographies are a little bit different. I mean, Stuart, being a very voracious reader, in fact, a writer in youth. James, you said you were a reluctant reader to begin with. I mean, I have to ask the question about what's your hope for the kids who are encountering your books? I mean, the chance with Ape Escape. I mean, this is not the first book you've ever written. You're well into this series already. You've written a bunch of other series. Stuart, the topic around. I mean, it's an emotional book. It's a physical book. There's poaching going on. There's endangered animals. There's real world harm. And yet you're balancing this kind of fun and seriousness here. We could have woken up on a Tuesday and written a lot of different things. Why this kind of a story for these kids right now?
I think I'm just trying to write the kind of thing that would appeal to me.
There you go.
First and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel I know James is doing that too. In a sense, well, I'm not gonna put words in James' mouth, but I'm pretty sure that's happening. I'm like I'm just looking for something I can do adventure and have a little comedy and then there are real world issues out there that just sort of lend themselves very well to stories. So when I first started doing the FunJungle series, I thought, my story was kind of a little odd about doing a hippopotamus that had been murdered at a zoo and a kid getting involved investigating that. But as I would go to schools and talk to the students, they would, come and say, "Oh, you should write about rhino poaching. There's only so many rhinos left in the world, or you should write about this animal, these animals are really endangered." And you recognize that this is very much a topic, the destruction of the environment that our kids are hyper aware of, and that I don't need to shy away from dealing with real world issues at all. They're ready for real world issues. They want to hear about that kind of stuff. So I'm just looking for anything that sparks my idea that says like this would be a really fun story, and then I think that you don't have to sledgehammer them over the head with the message. You just sort of put it in there and just let them learn about it and have fun reading at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about the reluctant reader who you're writing for, even like, okay, is this going to grab the kid? Is this going to? And then the frequent reader who's like, yeah, I want everything. I want the whole shebang. So
there's no better combination than Stu and FunJungle for a writer that I know for what they do. Now, I think Spy School is amazing, and Spy School is the best known series that Stu writes, and as it should be, and people should read it. But knowing Stu as I do, he is so such an advocate for conservation. He's so interested in going on safaris and he does all this stuff anyway. And for him to be able to write about these serious topics in this humorous way with a mystery attached to it, it's really like this amazing convergence of his gifts and his skills. And so I'm a fan of all his work, but I do feel like that's just emblematic. Like when you hear that, it's like that's the perfect situation. That's the perfect person to write it.
Although I'm going to just say, I thought that I knew more about zoos and animals than anybody in the world until I met James's son.
Is that right?
My son works in the zoo business, and I sometimes tell my son, I said, "I'm sorry, I'm your dad, and not Stu. Not for all the other people, because if Stu was his dad, they would be in Indonesia one day, and then they would be in Namibia the next day, and he would have that life that I'm not so good on the outdoors. I'm more of a city guy than
but I mean, like, no offense, James. I mean, I'd love to be able to hang out in Paris and Rome and
and that I do bring to the table. And so my son has enjoyed that part of our life, but my wife has certainly enjoyed that part of the life. My wife loves nothing more than researching my books. This next book is going to be Paris, London, and Rome. She goes, well, let's put the research in. Come on, let's go.
Gotta go on that Paris sewer tour again. Let's go. Yeah. Well, in City Spies Europa, James, I mean, this is an international thriller for a middle grade reader, and that tension between danger and a thriller for that middle grade audience. I mean, take us through a little bit what City Spies Europa is all for.
Well, the series now this is the 7th book in the series, and the series is about this British secret agent who ends up adopting these kids and raising them as a family of spies. So that's the very short version of it. And the books to me are really about family and what it means to be a family. And the spy stuff is just fun. And so I am looking for places to challenge that family dynamic or to lean into that family dynamic. And one of the things that I wanted to do is I want to make sure the books never feel formulaic and they don't feel too repetitive, but they still feel consistent. And so I thought, okay, a thing I haven't done yet is, what if our bad guys, so in James Bond, it's Spectre, in Stu's books, it's Spider, and in my books, it's Umbra. What if Umbra is attacking 4 cities at once all across Europe? Because that way now the team has to split up and they can't rely on, well, we have a grown-up with us. Oh, we have, they're on their own more. And so that was the concept. And then I had to try to figure out, well, why are they attacking 4 cities? And then, of course, we had to go visit them. So this was a really fun book. I think this is my wife's favorite book yet of the ones that I've done.
Is she now giving you lists of places that the book should go? I mean,
she does come like people will say maybe you should do a thing like where they go to the Congo or something. And she's like, no, I really think Barcelona just fits so much for what you.
One of the interesting things about both of you, but James, I got you first on here, is that you both sneak in facts into this. You both sneak in real world. You both are very detailed in how you're writing about place and about people, and it's still an action series. It's still really fascinating reading, James. I mean, this is definitely, as a critical reader, I mean, you've got a philosophy about your writing here.
Well, I do like accuracy, and so I worked in television for a long time. I worked in documentaries for a long time, and you do a ton of research, and actually. I did this one series called Hands on History for the History Channel. I wrote and produced it for years. And so I went to a lot of really obscure places. Like I would go into a salt mine. I would go into a coal mine. I was on top of the George Washington Bridge. I drove a cable car one day in San Francisco. And I steal from this all the time for the books. And I found early on that the more specific you can get, and accurate you can get. I think kids read and they're looking up stuff, and when they look up something and it's like, wait, that's real, because the real stuff is so much more unbelievable than what we would write on our own. And I think they tie into that. So I like a certain level of accuracy. In the end, the story is going to win out over, like I'm writing a scene right now and it's like, oh, I need this ski slope to be 40 yards over. I'm just going to move it. And if any Norwegian skiers spot it, then I can deal with the accuracy. But what I find is by looking into that, it spurs ideas I wouldn't have had otherwise. So in a way to present it so that it doesn't sound like educational, but it just sounds kind of like cool facts is just really fun. And both of us write Spies series. So we're talking mostly about FunJungle today, but Spy School has that too. And we both like to read, and sometimes we'll talk about like real missions or real things that we've come across, like Operation Mincemeat. It's like, wow, there's just so much there to mine. I just wrote all about the Telemark, Heroes of Telemark in Norway for this thing in Norway. And it's amazing how these guys basically stopped the Nazis from making a nuclear weapon. And it's like 20-something guys.
Oh yeah, I mean that is like, a hell of a story. Yes,
I could not come up with that and make it seem believable. Yeah.
I'm sorry, James, you're gonna say, or Stuart, you're gonna say?
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, yeah, for me, I think that it's even going back to a kid as a reader, and that you would read something like you'd read Encyclopedia Brown, and Encyclopedia Brown would know he would solve something because he knew a fact, and no shade against my elementary school teachers or anything, but there are times I look back and think like I think I learned more interesting stuff from Encyclopedia Brown as a kid than I did in school, and like those little things really stick with you, and I love to just find those like really fun things, and you put them in there, and maybe the kid enjoys the book, but maybe like one of those facts sticks with them too, and now they've got something they can go impress their family or their friends by knowing.
No, that's really fantastic. When I was a kid, we had the World Book. Okay, we were a World Book family, and it was in the dining room, so that when we had a discussion or debate going on before the internet, we didn't have our thumbs. We had a pincer movement. My father would lean back and pull out the appropriate, but it's Encyclopedia Brown delights me. Hearing that character name, Stuart, delights me right now. I'm sorry, James.
I read every Encyclopedia Brown book the second it arrived. I would read it in the car. I would do whatever. That was for a reluctant reader. That was my sweet spot. It's funny you mentioned the World Book. So we were. I love encyclopedias. I've always loved encyclopedias, and at our grocery store growing up, they had a World Book giveaway thing with green stamps. Like if you got
I remember that.
But we never saved the stamp, so we only got the A because they gave the A to you for free. We kept it on the shelf like it was like a Bible. But every report I wrote from like 5th to 9th grade had to be about something that started with A. So Antarctica, the Andes, Alexander the Great. I never knew about Botswana or but the Atlantic. I could tell you about the Atlantic Ocean.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
A. I had that A.
Well, that does explain why Stuart's setting books in the Serengeti or Zanzibar, places like that. Yeah, it's certainly
Right, we had the whole thing. I've got mine. There's an encyclopedia right up there.
But but Encyclopedia Brown is a character that lived with all of us, and there's other household names. I mean, both of you have written some household names now. I mean, you're 10 books in, Stuart, on the series. I mean, you've got a character there who's
12, right, Stu?
12?
Well, no, for
FunJungle. Okay.
FunJungle. I mean, Teddy Fitzroy is. Yeah. There are kids who know that name the same way. I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but what a delightful thing I would think. There are kids who know the name Teddy Fitzroy like Encyclopedia Brown.
It's the greatest honor you could ever have, right? This is just all about you say, why do we do what we do? It's because you have these stories that you want to share, and the more people who you can share your story with, the better. So we in our writers group, we if anybody spots a free range reader reading one of our books, we will maybe try to take a picture very subtly and then send it to the fellow writer to say, like, look, I spotted one of your books in the wild, right? So it's amazing.
I've said that as somebody who does a lot. I mean, I'm not a fiction writer at all. I write policy briefs for libraries and for legislatures, but once in a while you get a Google alert, with your name attached to it because somebody's used you as a footnote in something. It's a delightful thing.
Yeah. It's a thing that's still hard for me to wrap my mind around, and it's not like false humility to say you learn pretty early that the books belong to readers, not to us, that we're kind of like the stewards of this, and because Kids will come up to me and they'll talk about they've read the books like 8 or 9 times. I'm like, I haven't. You obviously know the books better than I do. You know, there's a girl down the street who's been reading since she was in the 3rd grade, and she's great, and she has a photographic memory. And I called her the other day. So the villain in my books is this character, and it's a phantom. You know, no one's ever seen it, a male or female, so they call him a phantom. But I realized I called her one day and I said, I forget, is it Le Fantôme or La Fantôme? Because so we don't know if it's Le Fantôme or La Fantôme. And without missing a beat, she goes, it depends on which book. And I'm like, what? And she goes, in books 1, 2, and 5, it's Le Fantôme. In 3 and 4, it's La Fantôme.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Leah, why didn't you tell me? She goes, I don't want to hurt your feelings because it was already.
That's fantastic.
But now I called her before. I called her before, and I was like, "Oh, where did they meet? Oh, because I have a little Bible that we worked on, but there's no Bible like an avid reader, you know, and that they just it is the greatest compliment that they care about this thing, and I just feel like I need to deliver on that promise of their dedication of reading that much, and I need to give them stories that pay off and keep their hearts going and keep them vested, but also that make them feel like, oh, I didn't, you know, there's nothing more frustrating than watching a movie or reading a book and at like the 75% mark, you're like, oh, this is not what I was hoping. This is not going to end with. You just want to please those kids.
Mm-hmm. Well, both of you write protagonists, whether individual or group protagonists, smart, capable, but unmistakably they're kids. And you both, obviously, to me, have a great deal of respect for children and young adults as readers. I mean, you use humor, at different points to be a little safety valve in the story, and you let your protagonists make mistakes. But there's to talk to writers who respect their readers is a delight.
I think neither James or I we don't write down to our kids. You just there are a few third rails in writing middle grade things that you can't touch. That's not something I want to touch anyhow. And so, but for the most part, you just like any topic you want to talk about, our readers can handle it. We know they can handle it. They're going to be fascinated by it. And so, that, I think on one hand, it's respecting them, but on the other hand, it's wanting to just write what we would have wanted to read as kids.
That's great.
I had a great, we'll call it a grad school. And so I started in children's television. So I started at Disney Channel, writing the Mickey Mouse Club, and then I went to Nickelodeon, and then I went to writing animated shows for PBS. And at all three of those places, in different ways, but very much, the value of our viewers was intense. It was all about respect and not talking down and you felt like, okay, there's a calling of writing up to kids, not just writing to kids, but writing up to kids. My plots and my spy stories are complex because they give and they take and they change and I like this. And I've never had a kid complain about that. I've never had now I try to present it with, the trick to it is I can't use cultural references that they don't know. I can't refer to, which is like, I can say, oh, it's like Watergate. Well, they're going to get lost. So that's not writing down. That's just respecting their age, but, you give it. And like Stuart says, there are some third rail things, and they're not really things I'm particularly interested in writing about either. And so, people ask me all the time, do you want to write adult stuff? I'm like, no. So first of all, I'll let you off with anything. Kids will write me. It's like, you did this, but that's not right because of this and that. So they're going to keep me honest. Adults read books and kids live in them, and they just and that's what's great about libraries, because libraries are a place where they get to go in a safe arena and find those books to live in.
I don't do this for everyone, James. No, I mean, tell me that quote about adults read books.
Adults read books and kids live in them. I think
kids live in them.
That's ridiculous.
I'm going to put that on a pincushion because this is Well, so I no offense. I interviewed Joe Lansdale a couple months ago, the horror writer, and I said, it was one of those get some advice for a writer. He said, write like everybody knows dead. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant, because it's how does it free you to write, that kind of a thing. But that quote about adults read books, kids live in them, I'm keeping that one.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we opened with the closing, which was about libraries and librarians. So now I got to flip it again. And you're both spy guys. So Stuart, if I could start with you first, favorite spy, whether it's a homegrown one or like the one you look up to. I need the favorite spy instead of the favorite librarian.
I mean, my books are really driven in a big way by James Bond, which I actually came to James Bond by the movies first, then did go read the books. That was where I had the big revelation in life that the books and the movies often are nothing like each other. But I think even when I was young and reading James Bond, I recognized that nobody could actually be James Bond. And so right from the get-go, I recognized there was something funny in the idea of even a really competent, smart person being thrust into a James Bond movie and trying to... we would all just screw it up. Every one of us would screw everything up in a James Bond movie.
Well, I don't think we were allowed to laugh at Q until it was John Cleese either.
No. But there were funny things about it. Just like they didn't play it funny, but you would recognize that. I would not be able, if I had these cool gadgets and I needed them to work, I would be like, oh, what am I supposed to do with the watch again? What was the button? And then it would.
I can't figure out how to stop the microwave plate from spinning.
Yes, exactly.
James, let's close this out today. Favorite spy?
Ben Ripley. Ripley is the inspiration for me in so many ways. He's the spy in Stuart's book. But what I love about it is actually, Stuart was writing this before I was writing the spy thing, and it really kind of inspired me. It's like, that's where I would have gone. It's where I worry. God, I don't want to creep into his territory, but I think I can write in a way that we're different and we're respecting each other and what we're doing. And so but also a James Bond thing. A funny thing with James Bond, it was from the Barbara Bach one.
Is it Spy Who Loved Me?
The Spy Who Loved Me. Okay. So when I was a kid, maybe 10, 11 years old, we went and we saw the Spy. I love that I designed it by the way, but the female is the one that changes everything. It's easier to separate them. We went to see The Spy Who Loved Me, me and my mom and I loved it, man. I was like, this is great. I think that's the one that starts with the parachute, with the Union Jack parachute on the seafloor. But it was all, I was just swept up. It was my first in-theater thing. But there's guns and there's like pretty women and there's this exotic stuff and like that. And I thought, am I allowed to be seeing? Am I old enough for this? And at the movie, at the end of it, my mom says, so what'd you think? And I'm like, oh, well, it was. She goes, James, it's okay if you really liked it. Really liked it. And I think what I didn't realize at the time, and I think about someone I write the spy stuff that I do, is like, when you're 11, you are a spy. You try different identities. You try different codes to see if I can slip in with this group and no one will notice that I don't really belong. That I can spy on the people at the other table in the cafeteria and figure out what's going on. And I think innately, that's why Harry the Spy works. It's like we, as that age, that's what we are. We're little mini espionage agents. And so to be able to write about that in a way that extrapolates it from school and puts it on this canvas that we get to write on, great.
That's really fantastic. Stuart, closing thoughts?
I mean, look, James has been so kind talking about my stuff. I got to talk about James's stuff real quick, just you guys, because I think nobody does character and family better than James does. And even though the City Spies are not officially, a traditional nuclear family, they're a real family. And I always tease James about the fact that he puts way too many main characters in all his books. he's setting a bar like up here, and then he's got to service all these different characters, and yet every time you get all this amazing character detail and all this amazing character development. I might develop like one character a book. James will develop every one of them will have a character arc, and it's just my, hats off to him.
Well, I think that I'm sorry, James.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to close up.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I thought I was supposed to say one too, but I don't have that.
Yeah.
My wrap up is, so yeah, Stu has been a great friend for as many years as it's been. We think it's 12, 11 years long.
Yeah.
How long it's been. We've been friends. And that's to me, coming from television where things were, even in kids TV, a little cutthroat, has been like the great discovery.
Mm-hmm.
The great discovery of book people and the other authors. Yesterday, one of our best friends won a Newbery honor, and we were as excited as if we won. As we were beyond excited. And I love that community. That community exists between authors, but that community exists between authors and librarians.
Yeah.
And it is the most special thing that there are people out there. We talk about like, a kid getting lost in one of these books, but it's the librarian that hands it to them. We don't get to do that. Yeah. It's that librarian at the desk or walking around saying, hey, well, you like that. How many librarians have said, well, you've read all of Spy School. Well, you know what? You might want to try City Spies. Right. Or, you've read City Spies. You got to try Spy School. So this partnership that we have, this collegiality we have among authors, among librarians, is just one of the most special and profound things. And we're lucky we get to meet each other. We don't get to meet many of the, we get to meet, a fair number of them, but there's just so many. So I just want to say, as we celebrate Library Week, it's just like, thank you all so much for being part of our extended family.
I don't know. I don't know if you've ever, it happens every once in a while. Like it'll come up and say like, do you not like libraries? Cause like people get to read your books for free there and everything. And you say, no, is there any other business in the world where like, there's an avenue where people get to experience what you do for free, and it's just a joy, right?
I tell kids all the time. They say, "Oh, where can I buy your books?" I say, "Don't buy them. Go to the library. Go get them at the library, because they will sell, and libraries buy them." And one of the things having grown up not with much money in my life, one of the things that attracted me to writing was the thing I could afford to do. Writing is a thing that you can do with no money. Mm-hmm. And reading is the thing you can do with no money. So this is a career that it takes nothing, that we have. It's public. You need paper and pencil, computer maybe, whatever, but you can use that at the library. You can get a computer. Right. Famously, Ray Bradbury wrote at the library at UCLA for 35 cents an hour using the typewriter there. Think about just what it is. It is perhaps the greatest idea ever.
I am so glad I did not cut you off, guys. Thank you so much. Because that wrap up is right in my heart. You said it better than I could. Folks, if you don't already know Stuart Gibbs and James Ponti's work, for yourselves, for your kids, for the kids in your lives, please go to your local library and check it out. Library Lovers Week 2026. EveryLibrary, the political action committee for libraries, we're trying to get some stuff done in the world, and having this kind of an endorsement for the sector means a lot to me today. Both of you guys, great to meet you. Wonderful conversation. Thank you so kindly.
Well, great to meet you too, and thanks for everything you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you.
So what we always do on EveryLibrary Live is we do the wave. I put up the card and we hit end.